firefighters, should they be included in regulating building codes, executing them, and educating people in that regard?
That is the ideal thing. That's the ideal thing. You want to put up a structure, you have your plan. You should come to the Federal Fire Service or any fire service as the case is, whether state fire service or federal. Come to them, give them your building plan. Across the Federal Fire Service and the state fire services, we have the fire prevention unit. In that fire prevention unit, we have architects that will review your plans.
Okay.
And advise you on where to put this or where to put that. But most people just see fire service. They'll give me instruction on what to do about my bill. Is it not my money? Leave them. You leave them. You put up the structure. I think it is wiser if we allow them to see what we have so that they can advise us. Than you putting up the structure and they come tomorrow and say, break this down. Put this thing somewhere else like this. Do this, do this. No.
In the words of Larry Brown, an American basketball coach and former player, he once said, "You have to do something in your life that is honorable and not cowardly if you are to live in peace with yourself. And for the firefighter, it is fire." Now, in the words of Thomas Von Essen, who served as the 30th Fire Commissioner of New York City from April 1996 to December 31st, 2001, before becoming the Fire Commissioner, he once said, "Every firefighter knows that he is always susceptible to this type of tragedy. They go to work every day knowing that they are doing something so positive that people really respect them and they appreciate them." Absolutely spot on. I quite agree with this one. But sometimes, do Nigerians appreciate them? That's some food for thought. Let's take our last quote, and this one is from Susan Dan Murphy, former commercial artist. She once said, "Firemen never die. They just burn forever in our hearts, the hearts of people, rather, whose lives they saved." Absolutely spot on. Now let's see how all of this could relate to what we will be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now, firefighters indeed are superheroes as they put their lives in jeopardy to save ours on a daily basis. The fire service in Nigeria was established in 1901 as an arm of the Lagos Police Fire Brigade. Then in April 1963, an Act of Parliament established the Federal Fire Service. Now, the Nigerian Fire Service was expected to concentrate on firefighting, and the Act has spelled out what was expected from the Nigerian Fire Service. Some of the functions of the Nigerian Fire Service are: 1. Nigerian Fire Service promotes fire safety, rescues persons from road traffic accident, deals with other specific emergencies like flood, terrorist attack, and all. Nigerian Fire Service does other things not specifically spelled out in the Act. The Nigerian Fire Service can carry out some functions that are specifically not spelled out by an Act that established it. But then, take for example, the Nigerian Fire Service functions revolve around fighting of fires and rescuing of persons involved in road traffic accidents. Nevertheless, the Nigerian Fire Service can involve in other activities with a view of saving or serving a particular need of the people or community needs, and or respond to some other risk the people may face. Now, going by the above argument, the Act has empowered the Nigerian Fire Service to make sure that as fire and rescue agency, it can do other things that are not specifically spelled out by an Act that established it, provided that such intervention exercise helps in meeting the statutory functions of the Nigerian Fire Service. So, how much has the Nigerian Fire Service done in this regard? how far so far? Now joining us to discuss this and more is the recent retired Comptroller General of the Fire Service, Dr. Samson Karebo. He joins us after this time out. Join us again. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you're right on time for the interview. Our guest on the show today is Dr. Karebo Samson. He is the recently retired Comptroller General of the Federal Fire Service in Nigeria. It's good to have you in the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Great. All right, so I understand that you just recently retired from public service. Now we'll talk about that, all of that later on the show. But then let's talk about fire, fighting fire in Nigeria. And we'll actually start from home here in Nigeria. Why is it so difficult to get the fire service at your beck and call especially in Nigeria? Like there's a fire outbreak and then you call for firefighters, but then you don't get to see them like immediately after some time. That's the complaints that we've been getting from a lot of Nigeria until when the fire has almost ravaged the whole property. What's the deal?
Did you say you called the fire service?
I said that's the report we've been getting from Nigerians.
How did we as Nigerians call the Federal Fire Service? How? Or any other fire service? How did we call them? What phone numbers did you use to call them? That's an aside. The Federal Fire Service can be called to attend to a call through one, a running caller. You run to any fire station, even to the police station. The police have a way to get across to the Federal Fire Service through the running caller. Then the fire service on its own can turn out by themselves without being called by anybody through observation method. There's a fire out there, there's a car on fire. Or maybe we're driving along the road with our vehicle. Just by chance, we're coming from somewhere. There's a fire outbreak somewhere. We can turn out by ourselves through observation, through running caller, by observation, and through the normal call, phone call. That's how we can get the Federal Fire Service to attend to any emergencies. I think last week, I was just driving along the road and I saw a building. Inside the building, there's a fire outbreak inside the building because I saw the smoke rise into the sky and I was like, park. We parked. We got close to the gate. The gate was locked. And I shouted at the gate man inside, why would you close this gate? Can't you see the fire outbreak inside? They said, we'll close the gate because we don't want anybody to come inside. There and then I called the control room. They have my number. I called the control room. Please turn out at least 3 fire stations for a tanker fire at so place. Now the problem with us Nigerians is, how do we call the fire service? One. Fire service, there's fire, boom. No address. We are not angels to know that somebody had just said there is fire and they cut the call. How do we understand that there is fire at so place? You give us the location.
You get such call every time?
Not all the times.
Okay, so what when you have exceptions?
Yes. So if you call the fire service, there's a fire outbreak at so and so place. Give us a landmark that is close to that address so that we don't go all around the place looking for where this fire outbreak could be. Give us a landmark. Give us the street. Give us your phone number. You understand? But then, sorry, I've called the fire service, they're on their way. And you cut. Who did you call in the first place? By not giving us the proper address, you're wasting time. So you do now add up to the time we will now get to know where the fire outbreak is and get into the scene of the incident. Give us a proper address. Give us a landmark. And we will get there. But then when we ask, sorry, what is your phone number? I'm telling you that there's a fire so please. You're asking me for my phone number. Even if you run to the fire station, we'll still ask you your name. We'll ask you your name. Don't assume anything. Just give it straight to us. We also keep records. Even if you take the issue to the police will come to us with those landmarks we are asking you now. The police will take it from you and give it to us. And I think that should answer that. So if you don't come to us on time, we will always get there late. We will always get there late. And then, an offshoot of that question is, why do people just turn against the fire service?
We're going to definitely get right to that, because we've seen different kinds of attack on firemen, and you just begin to wonder why they do that. But we'll definitely get right to that. But then let's still talk about some responses that we've gotten. The last one that we've actually one of the reports that we got from some people with regards to firefighters rushing in late, and then they tell you that there is no water in their truck. Now, why is that a case? I recall the case of when there was a church fire in somewhere around City Gate, and then here in Abuja, and then the whole place went in flames. That's a few months ago. And then let me mention the name. It's actually House on the Rock. So they sent the message, and then they said, when we asked most of the eyewitnesses, they said that they called the firefighters, but then they didn't have water in their fire tank. And then when they asked, you asked them if they had fire hydrants, so they accepted that was their mistake, that they never had fire hydrants where they could actually suck out water, which they accepted. So why, on that part, I guess, since we have you here, I think it's better if we try to clear the air in that regard before we move on.
I think you're asking too many questions in one question.
Yes, I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath.
Fine. Fire hydrants. 1. What are fire hydrants? These are structures you have on the premises before an outbreak of fire. Now, even if you have fire hydrants in your premises, like here, do we have fire hydrants here? Yes or no? Now, how do you feed these fire hydrants with water? Number 1, through the town's mains. Abuja town's mains. There's water supply in that fire hydrant all the time. 2, what if there's no water in the town's mains? There could be an underground water supply that goes into the fire hydrants.
Please, before you go ahead, help us understand what is town's mains so that our viewers understand what that means.
How do you use water in your house? That is coming from the water corporation that controls Abuja metropolis. That's the town's mains.
Okay.
You turn on your water faucet anytime there's water there, because there's water coming from the water corporation. Then, I was talking about how you feed water into your fire hydrants. Through the town's mains, through underground water supply, and thirdly, overhead tank. So you could have water from these 3 sources to feed your fire hydrant. Now, if you don't have a fire hydrant on your premises, how do you help the fire service to put out fires in your premises? We're expecting the fire service to perform magic anytime we see them, because there's a very big fire out there. So we expect the fire service to come and perform magic. Now let us go back to our elementary school arithmetic. If it takes 3 men to clear a portion of farmland, if it takes 3 men 10 minutes to clear a portion of farmland, how long will it take 10 men to clear the same portion of farmland? 3 men, 10 minutes. Now 10 men, you will understand that 10 men will do it for far lesser time because they are all working at the same time. Now, it goes the same way with firefighting. You want this water to come out of the pump from a very high revolution. You rev your engine because you want the vehicle to go very fast. Is that not so? The same thing with firefighting. If one branch is working at 2 bars pressure, just 2 bars pressure, it's a normal thing. You just see water coming out. Then if you now fast track it to about 6 bars pressure, which any woman can handle, 6 bars pressure, 5 bars pressure, it then means you are expecting too much from the engine. So the person at the branch there will have to be very fit, stand firm to be able to stand the pressure that is coming from behind. It means the water in that tank, since it's not coming out 2 bars pressure, you will use that water for far less period than you want to. So we expect the fire service to come and work for 2 hours just to see that the fire goes out, then we clap for them. No. If you rev that engine for too long a period, that water can come out inside 5 minutes. And you now say, they didn't even come here with water. How can you just come here 5 minutes and you say there's no more water? It means you didn't come here with water, forgetting that you are arithmetic. If it takes 2 people to finish this bowl of food, 10 minutes, how long will it take 10 men to finish the same bowl of food? Far lesser period. That is the analogy with firefighting.
So it depends on how you rev.
Yes. Depends on the bar pressure that is given to the man at the branch. Okay, let's say you have some scoop of water in your hand. You open between the fingers. It's going to be dripping on somebody. The person's head is under you. It might annoy him because he's a human being. It might annoy him. Because, sorry now, you allow this water to get on my head. But not as much as when you scoop the same water, you splash it on his face. This one is just trickle. This one is with some level of force. So you are using force now to put out that fire in good time. He's a human being, he will feel offended. But now, he's going to be much more offended because you just splashed him with water. It is the force that hits the fire that actually kills it.
Yep. Oh, okay.
So you need much force from the branch. From the branch now, from the engine, from the driver, to be able to put that fire in very good time.
So that means pouring buckets of water does not ultimately stop the fire.
That is what we call a chain gang reaction. Chain gang reaction, you come, you pour water, you go back. The fire is going to be kindling itself. By the time you come back again, you're going to be fighting fresh fire. You throw that one, you go back again. By the time you're coming, it's like you must have oxygen in that fire region for a longer period for the fire to continue. So by the time you throw water, you go back, oxygen will come back. We'll fan the embers of the fire. It's going to start reigniting again. So that is why it is good when we turn out to fires, kill this fire before you go for refilling. Because if you don't finish that fire, you go for refilling and come back, you will meet the same volume of fire like you left it the first time. So most times, we permit ourselves to turn out at least 3 or 4 vehicles at the same time. So there will be no excuse for going to refill and come back and meeting a fresh fire. Because when you are not there, you won't know what happened to the premises, to the building. The fire might reignite. Reignition is as good as fighting the fresh fire. So if you turn out 3, 4 vehicles at the same time, no problem. It's not your money that we use to buy the fuel. It is government money fighting a government property fire. So finish the fuel as long as you finish the fire. You understand?
All right, so is it possible and advisable for real estate developers, architects, and anyone who wants to build a house or company to include the firefighters in their plan, so that they can they will be planned for such unforeseen circumstances, since most fires happen in buildings? So should firefighters, should they be included in regulating building codes, executing them, and educating people in that regard?
That is the ideal thing. That's the ideal thing. You want to put up a structure. You have your plan. You should come to the Federal Fire Service or any fire service as the case is, whether state fire service or federal. Come to them. Give them your building plan. Across the Federal Fire Service and the state fire services, we have the fire prevention unit. In that fire prevention unit, we have architects that will review your plans.
Okay.
And advise you on where to put this or where to put that. But most people just see fire service. They'll give me instruction on what to do about my bill. Is it not my money? Leave them. You leave them. You put up the structure. I think it is wiser if we allow them to see what we have so that they can advise us. Than you putting up the structure and they come tomorrow and say, break this down. Put this thing somewhere else like this. Do this, do this. No. But we don't do that. But then that's the ideal thing to do. We do not include the fire service when we want to put up structures. Town planners don't include the Federal Fire Service or the fire services when they want to do things. It is after they have done what they have done, we now come to try to correct. We have a right to go to a premises, seal up the premises because they do not measure up with the fire safety regulations. We have that right.
Mm. But have you ever at any point gone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have the enforcement crew. We have the enforcement crew that does that. But then, you know, our environment, that one phone call thing, you know, our environment, please tell them to back down on that. And they call us at the gate. Please pull back. And they will pull back. But then it's your structure. It is not your structure when you put up this structure. It belongs to the federal government now. Because everybody in Nigeria belongs to the federal government. We are all government properties. Human beings, they work in this environment, so it is no longer your personal structure. It belongs to the government. So an agency of government has a right to advise you on what to do about the human beings you have in that place. You know, in buildings, there are things we call loads in buildings. We have the wind load. It affects or supports firefighting. We have the wind load. We have the occupancy load. Occupancy, all the furniture items we have in the building.
Okay.
The wind load. The wind has a weight of its own. You won't see if a building is shaking if there's too much wind. You won't see. But you will feel it. There'll be some level of vibration.
Coming from the windows and doors and all.
Then there's also what we call the dead load. Dead load is the weight of the building itself. It's also part of the things that aid firefighting. So we have all of this. We put all of this to cognizance to show that if we have, every fireman is supposed to have a basic knowledge of building construction. Every fireman is supposed to have a basic knowledge of building construction. It helps him. Immediately we got into these premises, we've taken our check. You won't know what we are looking out for, but we know what we are looking out for. Number one, you're supposed to have basic knowledge of building construction so as to know where to find party walls. What are party walls? The walls that separate this building A from building B.
Okay.
So we know where to pitch our ladder.
Isn't that what we average Nigerians just call fence?
Fence. Fine.
Okay.
We call it party walls.
Okay.
Party walls. Your fence. It also helps us to know where to position our men to work and where to position our appliances also. You cannot go and position your appliance against the wind direction because a building this high, let's say 10-story building, you go and park your truck on the windward side of the building. What if the breeze, the wind now takes the flame from this side towards where your vehicle is parked and your boys are walking at the fire scene? Would you not tell the driver, go and repark the vehicle? Go and repark the vehicle means switch off. You switch off, then you direct the vehicle to the engine level. The firefighting level is different from the engine road level. You understand? So if you switch off the vehicle, that means you're going to remove all your connections so that you can repark the vehicle. You would have lost at least valuable 6 minutes. And 6 minutes damage is as good as you saying you're just coming afresh. So let us do the right thing at the right time. When you get to the premises, a fireman is always very, very observant. When you're coming, you're taking your 360 of this environment. Nobody sees you doing it. You do it mentally. You take your 360 mentally. 360 means check the environment. You're looking at where to position your men. Your hydrant, you would have seen whether there is hydrant or not. You won't know. You won't see them looking out for where there are hydrants. It is innate in them.
Are there particular places where hydrants are supposed to be in the building?
You want to do firefighting?
You're just teaching us. So please continue.
Okay, there are specific areas. There are specific areas where fire hydrants are supposed to be positioned beside walls so that it will not impede traffic.
Okay.
If you want to connect a branch to the fire hydrant, so that even if it is a vehicle that is positioned close to the fire hydrant, we will not be disturbing traffic. So even if it is not the appliance that is connected to the fire hydrant, we just want to use the hydrant with a hose and branch. We can go there, we'll still not be disturbing traffic.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be by the wall, extreme end of a particular wall.
Okay.
There's supposed to be a muster point where people gather in case there's an emergency on the premises. There's supposed to be a muster point. Fire hydrants are not too far placed from the muster points.
Okay.
So everybody will gather at that muster point to take roll call of those that were sent out, those that are still inside the building, so that we can go and effect rescue operations before firefighting. Rescue first before firefighting.
Awesome. All right. We're actually going to talk about the qualities that is needed for anyone who wants to become a fireman. But then you've actually given us some of them, but we'll talk about that, much of that later on the show. So what exactly is the reason? Because you talked about how much people want to unleash attack on firefighters. So what exactly is the reason why Nigerians are always at the edge, ready to unleash their anger on every government officials that they see, especially firemen? And the only people that Nigerians are scared of are the military. But then if it comes to the paramilitary, they're always they always want to fall in their trap. When you fall in their trap, they're always at the edge to quickly beat, hit, maim the person. What exactly is the reason for that?
It's your mindset. It's just your mindset. Animals fight. Animals fight. So let me correct an impression there. It is not just any paramilitary they attack. You cannot attack a civil defender. You can't, because he's armed. The essence of that arm is for you to use the arm. You can't attack a civil defender or a prison warder that is armed, or an immigration officer that is armed.
Maybe a custom.
Yes.
So because you are not armed?
We are never armed. We are not armed, so they just see a vulnerable set of people. You are expecting magic from them. Either magic or miracle, you're expecting one of such from them, and they are not performing. You feel they went below your standard, and so you just vent your anger on them, and they are innocent people. How long did it take them to get from their station to this place? I believe this is Pape Axis. Let's say this is Pape Axis. They called me, I think 30 minutes ago, about a car fire at Pape Axis. NEMA control room called me this morning. Car fire at Pape Axis, because they have my number. They called. I now called the control room. Please turn out the nearest fire station to Pape Because I understand there's a car fire out there. They didn't give me the address. Just Papi. So where will the truck be coming from? Let us say Federal Secretariat. Or Dede. We have a fire station at Dede. Do you know where these people will be coming from? Do you know the traffic route from wheresoever they are coming from? Let's say Federal Secretariat now. They are coming from Federal Secretariat to Papi. What part of Papi is that fire? You didn't tell us. So when we move into Papi now, we'll begin to look for where there is fire.
Car fire.
Or begin to ask people. By the time we get there, the car is almost gone. Did you ask them, please, where are you people coming from? Is it even normal that you should beat up emergency responders, whether they come late or not? Is it normal? That's why I said it's in you. It's in you.
So now with people having this dastardly act, is it actually possible to provide security cover for firefighters, like some kind of collaboration or synergy with other security officials to avert this growing trend? Or better still, is it actually possible to have firemen carry arms when they're going for such operations?
Well, firemen carry arms is another ballgame altogether, so we won't go into that. But collaboration between the fire service and other agencies to assist us for security purpose, we've been working on that.
Okay.
Initially, those days, if you see a fire station, you know there's a police station close by. Anywhere you see a fire station, a police station is beside it. Because we're like Siamese twins. It used to be the police fire brigade.
Yes.
In the days of yore. It used to be the police
in Lagos.
fire brigade. So the first original firemen were police officers.
Okay.
So they came with that police mentality. The main first fire officers were policemen. They were drafted because they were all in internal affairs then. So they crossed over to form the Federal Fire Service, or the fire service as the case was then. So if you go to Lagos, you see most fire stations beside police stations.
True.
We just call them across the fence. Come, we are going to so place. Please give us a truckload of people to go with us, and they join us. They stay ahead of us. We turn out behind them. They clear traffic for us. We get to the fire scene. They give us security, the cordon of the area. They allow us access to walk. They form both the outer cordon and the inner cordon. Nobody gets to us. We finish our operations, we leave. But now, the police is short-staffed, so how should we be disturbing the policemen? We now have the civil defenders. They go with us. Before I left the office, we have been working like that.
All right.
Across all the states that I worked, the fire service and the civil defense, we work together. And I know my successor is also working on that.
All right.
We're supposed to have a synergy. If we are going out, civil defense goes with us.
All right then, clearly we have still have Dr. Samson Karebo, and he has a lot of things to tell us about, especially with regards to fighting fire now that it is the dry season. So you don't want to miss that part of the show. We will see you shortly. Don't move a muscle. Talk to us about the trainings that you walk us through the kind of trainings that you get, because like when you see a soldier behave like a soldier, you just people just say, oh, we just know that he's a soldier because, due to the kind of training that he got. So what same thing with policemen. So what kind of trainings do you get?
Earlier I mentioned about a 360. You must be always observant.
Okay.
You must have an inquiring mind. Why this? If this, why not that? You must be tactful. You must have a very strong sense of initiative. We call them the 8 qualities of a fireman.
Okay.
The 8 qualities of a fireman. You must be physically fit.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but you can still join in the conversation. Our guest on the show today is Dr. Samson Karebo. He is the recent retired Comptroller General of the Federal Fire Service. All right, before we went on that break, we actually talked about, you've actually schooled us on a whole lot of things, but then let's talk about water, flood, and fire. Now that we have finally gone past the rainy season that caused numerous disaster, nationwide death recorded, families displaced, properties washed and gone down the drain. Now you just begin to wonder if NIMET and other weather agencies never did their job with regards to the premonition. But then all that is gone. So now I read somewhere that every water or flood can actually trigger a fire. So how true is that? That's one on the side. I'm going to ask you two questions and I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath. I read such that there's that flood can actually trigger fire. So we'd like you to help us explain that. And then secondly, now that we are approaching, or in fact, we've already approached the dry Harmattan season where little things could actually trigger fire, like anything could trigger fire. So talk to us on the measures that Nigerians should strictly adhere to at this moment, just so that people won't have to face double disaster with flood at the time and then now fire, like the holy book says, affliction shall not arise the second time.
Wow. Okay, let's take the Harmattan season now. We all should imbibe the fire safety consciousness. Things we must do and things we must not do, so as not to allow any fire outbreak near our environment. We're in the dry season, as we all know. No bush burning, no bush burning. Even if you want to burn any portion of farmland, it should be a controlled burning. You are there to supervise the bush burning. Okay. And don't allow this bush burning to go beyond what you can control. That way, it's going to go into people's houses, and then you might not have the capacity to tackle it if it gets beyond your control. So, if you need to do any level of bush burning, go to any fire station, plead with them. You want to do such thing, so please, they should come and give you cover. They will come.
What does cover mean? That your presence?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the cover I'm talking about. Fire safety coverage. They will come. Now, the fire outbreak I mentioned that I called the control room for, they were going to transload fuel from one tank, from a fuel tanker to another tanker. They did not call the fire service. And naturally, that is what we all are supposed to do. You want to do something like this, please notify the fire service. Just any fire service to come and assist you. They will come.
And that's free of charge, right?
Free of charge, they will come. Like I said earlier, it is not your fuel. It is not the workers' fuel or their money that is used to buy fuel to run the engines. It is federal government property. Call them, they will come. They will stay there, you do your decanting, transloading. When you are done, they will go back. Thank you very much, fire service. They will go back. But we don't do such. That is another way of preventing fires. Now, you said flood issues cause fires. Never heard of such.
Okay, great.
Flood issues can cause fire service operations, we know. Because if there are flood situations, it will weaken the structure of the buildings. So it could cause rescue operations and not fire outbreaks. Because number one, if there is flood, you think of electricity supply. The whole environment is going to go off because of power lines, transformers. So the power agencies are going to switch off so that for that entire area, there will be no power supply within that area.
Okay. So how about, sorry, I had to cut you. How about lightning and thunder? Does it trigger fire?
Yes.
Okay.
Triggers fires. When issues like we have now, all the grasses in the farmlands, they are very, very brittle. Everything is dry. And any small thing like that, even reflection from the sun can cause fire.
Oh, interesting.
Harsh reflection from the sun can cause fire. So then how do you think we have bushes that burn?
On their own.
On their own. Nobody would have gone in there to go and light up any fire. And we say climate change. That's another topic of its own. Climate change also causes fires.
Fire. Okay.
Like Australia, all those places where we have these wildfires. What do you think would have caused such kind of fires? It's not just really about people going there to put fires in those bushes. No. Climate change also causes fires.
All right. Now, because
Through radiation. Radiation is from where? The major source of radiation is from the sun.
the sun.
So it could cause fires also.
Okay, now let's go back to the trainings that firefighters get. So we'd like you to talk to us about the trainings that you walk us through the kind of trainings that you get. Because like when you see a soldier behave like a soldier, you just people just say, oh, we just know that he's a soldier because, due to the kind of training that he got. So what? Same thing with policemen. So what kind of trainings do you get? That's one on the side. And because you were talking about the qualifications that you need as a firefighter. Can you walk us through, in case we have someone who might have that love of being a fireman? So what kind of qualifications does he or she need?
Earlier, I mentioned about a 360. You must be always observant.
Okay.
You must have an inquiring mind. Why this? If this, why not that? You must be tactful. You must have a very strong sense of initiative. We call them the 8 qualities of a fireman.
Okay.
The 8 qualities of a fireman. You must be physically fit. I think I sent one reporter a video about the rescue operations. It was me in that video.
Yeah,
about the rescue operations. If I wasn't physically fit, I won't be able to go into that water. Those were 2 families, same day, different locations. That video is about 2 years ago. I served in Benin then, and there was serious rain. So Iboba River now overflooded its banks. It now got into the city, and the flooding was very severe. So they called us. I think it was even a weekend. Will you say because it's weekend you will not turn out? You must turn out. So we got there. The first building, we rescued a family of 8. The dad, the mother, and I think 5 children and 2 security guards. They locked everything downstairs. They all went up to stay, hoping that the rain will abate and the flood will reduce. Lo and behold, it was getting on stronger and stronger. They could not come out because they went upstairs with the key. They locked themselves inside and they went upstairs. So how will they now come out? So they called us and we got there. We rescued everybody. That's why we have that video. The second premises, I think the opposite end of Benin this time. Same day. We are done with this. Before we got back to the station, they called us again for another rescue operations. We got there. This one was even much more, almost about 15 people. Babies were also involved.
Okay.
So if you check that video, you see me even having some babies around me. So we brought, if a fireman is not physically fit, he won't be able to go into such kind of rigors. You must use your initiative. Who do you rescue first?
Okay.
Who do you rescue first?
That's another point to factor in.
Yes. We have the aged. We have the vulnerable. The aged can be as good as saying the vulnerables. then the youths, the people that are strong. You leave the ones that are strong first. Go for the vulnerable, the children and the aged. You take them out first. Then you come back for the ones that are still strong. Whatever you see me do the same thing. If I go through this way, you follow me there. And when you carry out rescue operations, particularly through floods, you don't walk. You don't walk. You shuffle. You shuffle to the side, to the left. You can still shuffle to the front, but you don't move backwards.
Okay.
You don't move backwards. You either shuffle to the side, left side, right side, or you shuffle to the front. Your shuffling to the front means you are using your legs to test if there is any depth anywhere before you push. Because if you walk directly at flood, if you walk, you won't know if you are stepping into a hole.
Yes.
Maybe it's a manhole or not. Because everything is covered. If you check that video properly, you see that my waist level was somewhere here like this in that video. So if you just walk, boom, boom, you might just go into a manhole.
A ditch.
But when you shuffle with your leg forward, sideways, you are using your leg now to test if there are holes, which you direct your people. Okay, move to this side, move to this side. I think part of the first video, I had a wife behind me. I was holding on to the woman. Madam, come this way. And she did everything I told her. My boys also were behind me with some of the children. So I went for the madam. The boys took two like that.
Okay.
I think that was about 2 operations. We brought everybody out inside 3 runs. We now got, the security was the last person we brought out. After the mother, then some of the children, then we now went for the dad. Came out with the dad, then we went for the security lastly. That's how we're able to remove those people. So you look for the vulnerable people first, you bring them out.
All right.
Those that are strong can wait.
All right, now, so let's, because our time is fast spent, so let's see how we can actually press for time. So I understand that this department, firefighting is a very capital intensive one, men, materials, and all. Also that the Federal Fire Service is not a profit-making venture. It is actually for service to humanity. But then with all of this investment that have been pushed and pumped into that sector, you still get some loopholes. You have some challenges. The fire service in Nigeria, as we understand, was established in 1901 and was an arm of the Lagos Police Fire Brigade, which you talked about earlier on the show. Then in 1963, that's when you had the precise act of parliament to establish the Federal Fire Service. But then recently, we've seen that Lagos have equipped their fire service with more men and materials, yet you keep getting fire outbreaks in most Lagos markets on a yearly basis. Fire that comes out almost the same time in the same year to destroy people, lives, properties, and all of that. So how is it actually possible for us to look for other ways to fight this fire? Like I'm looking at, can we just check global, how it is done, global best practices, like go fight fire from the top with helicopters and something. Is there anything, any way that we could actually factor any of these things in?
Well, if you talk about firefighting and the fire services response to firefighting activities, if you ask me, in the whole Nigeria, I would say Lagos is number 1. Lagos is number 1. Because I worked in Lagos for over 15 years. I was in Lagos for over 15 years before I came to Abuja. And those days, in the 90s, Lagos still had 2 very big bulk water carriers. It's just tank.
Okay.
Just tank. From beginning to the end of the vehicle is just water tank. So if we get to fire sales, we see that very vehicle there, we say, yes, we are ready for any kind of fire. Yeah. But then the issue about safety of lives and properties falls basically on the chief executive officers of every state.
Okay.
And I want to pride myself that I'm a Lagosian. I'm a Lagosian. And the Lagos State has been very, very active. All the governors of Lagos, they've been very, very active on that.
Okay.
So that's why I take pride to say I'm a Lagosian. And I want to commend His Excellency, the governor of Lagos State. He's doing well. He's helping us. He's helping us to do our job. The Lagos State governor is helping the fire service to do their job efficiently.
So
he
understand, they understand fire.
Yes. If you go to Lagos, they have a situation room somewhere at Alausa.
Okay.
They have a situation room. Let that be fine any aspect of Lagos. From that situation room, they monitor all their vehicles.
Oh, okay.
From that situation room. I've forgotten the name, but I know it's somewhere around Alausa axis, Ikeja area. There's a situation room there. I inspected that situation room once also. And the Lagos is very good for those kind of activities. But then, there are always hiccups. Where we have the human factor, there must always be hiccups. So that is what we call now the human factor. So no matter the extent of security gadgets you put in place, someday, somebody might just want to undo you. So, but then Lagos is separate. But then other state governors, let us also take a cue from Lagos State. Very recently, 2 months back or so, Lagos State acquired about 64, if I'm not mistaken the number, 64 firefighting trucks. Like you said, firefighting is very, very capital intensive. Very, very capital intensive. So other states might not be as viable as Lagos State to acquire such kind of things. One fire truck, might surprise you to know that just one fire truck can cost you 250 million. 250 million naira. Then when you convert to dollars, these trucks are not just bought off the shelf. You have to place order for them. Place order might get to you maybe 6 months, 9 months before the trucks can arrive. So Lagos is blessed because they have the wharves by which these trucks come in.
All right.
So with government fiat, they will not need to clear them through customs or whatever. Just come in, we take custody of them. That is for Lagos. So let other states queue in also. More so now that we have the Harmattan season with us. We should start saving for that rainy day.
Right.
It is not when there's a fire outbreak, we'll now think of buying the fire appliance. No. Let us try to save for that rainy day. Fires do not ring bells when they come. In those days, when thieves want to come to your place, they write you a letter. We're coming to so street. So prepare for us. You prepare for that. But fires don't write. They just come, they just come.
All right. So now let's talk about, let's actually divert a little bit and talk about you. We know that a few months ago, I recall that you were the Comptroller General of Fire Service before you retired, and I recall that then KAFTAN TV also covered that event where they sent congratulatory messages to you, and later on, I think it's less than a year, we already know that you're retired. So what have you actually met the service criteria and then retirement according to the civil service rule? That's one on the side. And then secondly, what have you been doing? What have you been spending your retirement on? What have you been up to lately? We'd like to get up close and personal.
Well, when you grow up in a very disadvantaged environment, you want to try and be at the very top. You just want to try and be at the very top. Okay? Personally, if you tell me this is my mother, I never got to know what mother love is. Single parents, yeah. And growing up was very, very hard on us. Myself and my elder sister. So, in that kind of environment, if you want to be anybody, you must be very good. And the environment where we grew up was the core Lagos, Ajegule.
Ah.
Yep.
Okay.
If you've seen a John Wick film, you know John Wick? I wanted to be tomorrow's John Wick growing up. So I went into amateur boxing, went into self-defense, karate, all those self-defense issues. And I just felt, why not the CIA? The CIA, they have criteria. You must meet this, you must meet that. The CIA or FBI. You must be very good with languages, self-defense, all of those things. That was what I had in mind. But along the line, I said, no. You will be licensed to kill or get killed. I don't want to get killed. Why kill in itself? So why not go into saving of lives? And then the opening came. So we actually started very early.
Wow, okay.
I got into the service very early. So about your question, I served 35 years.
Oh, wow.
I served 35 years. And anything that has a beginning must always have an ending. You must live for other people to come in. So I served the normal 35 years. With the civil service, it is either 35 years or you attain the retirement age of 60. I'm still very far from 60, very far. But then I've done it 35 years.
All right.
So we had to leave the stage for junior ones to move upstairs too.
Okay, before we let you go, leaving the stage for the junior ones, what are the plans that you have for yourself in the nearest future? Any plans of going into private consultancy? Because you cannot actually have all of this intelligence and years of experience and then just give it to yourself. Any plans of going into private consultancy? So,
well, for the past 7 years, I never had a leave. I was moving from one location to another state. It was like 6 months, another state. 6 months, another state. Whether it was on professional ground or on sentimental grounds, it's left to the people that are moving me around then. So I just want to take some time out to relax well. Then, what next? I could go to the classroom. Whatever I have will best be done to be given out from the classroom.
Any plans for politics?
Politics? No. Politics.
All right.
I'm a realist.
Oh.
I'm a realist, so realists don't go into politics.
I see.
They run into stormy weathers.
All right, so are there lessons that you've learned with all of your 35 years of experience serving Nigerian people? Are there also any regrets that you probably should have done something different?
Wow. With the John Wick in me, no. I'd always want to be a fireman.
Ah, okay.
I always want to be a fireman. I pride myself as being, by telling people that I am not a fire officer. And I don't want to be a fire officer. I am a fireman.
All right.
I started from the scratch as a recruit fireman on grade level 3. Should there be any regret in somebody touching all the ranks, getting to the very zenith? No regret.
All
But
right.
just that we don't cherish what we have as a people until we lose it.
I hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much, Dr. Samson Karebo. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you. And thank you for schooling us on how to fight fire. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. So in the words of Chief Kennedy, he said, people are always asking me how it is that firefighters run into burning building when everyone else is running out. Courage is the answer. Whatever you do, have courage. And please stop this dastardly act of attacking not only firefighters, but people who came to save lives. That's all we can take for this edition of The Conversation. I will definitely see you again next time. Keep watching The Conversation because you never know who my next guest will be and what my next topic will be all about. Till I come your way again from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless you and yours, and God bless Nigeria.